Federal government to complete rice factory installation in 10 states. Recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic has been sustainably good and encouraging, says Finance Minister. Asia Pacific stocks fall as shares of Japan's automaker slip. Baidu earnings ahead. Plus, oil falls as U.S. gasoline stock draw raises prospect of SPR release. Details of this and more on Business Express on the network service of the NTA, and we are reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Benny Adams, your guide. Well, the campaign for transparency and accountability in the conduct of government business for economic growth has received a boost with the launch of a document containing the mapping and scoping survey of anti-corruption and governance initiatives in public finance management systems in Nigeria. The document, put together by the Technical Unit on Governance and Anti-Corruption Reforms, TUGA, covers policy design, budget formulation, approval, and execution, accounting the external audit.
Corruption, when left unchecked, weakens the integrity of public finance and economic management systems, compromises revenues and expenditure management, and ultimately erodes the social contract with citizens.
The PFM system is an efficient engine of governance when it works.
You could see all the initiatives that the federal government has put in place to reform, whether it is in the OGP, whether it's in NAITI, whether it's in public procurement, illicit financial flows, and several reform initiatives that are in place. But we have seen from this report, there is very little, less efforts at the states.
And we have been able to distill a gap analysis. We have been able to distill best practice examples, and we continually prefer recommendations on how we can improve our processes.
And the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, says the last couple of years presented series of challenges to the entire nation and the globe. But the good news is that the recovery rate from the pandemic has been sustainably good and encouraging, adding that the economy is bouncing back to normal. She stated this at the National Council on Finance and Economic Development in Lagos. The minister explained that this year's conference was carefully chosen to draw attention of managers and practitioners in the public sector finance management to the challenges and opportunities posed by the COVID-19 pandemic on the nation's economy and to profile ways forward. The minister also hinted that she is delighted by the commitments shown by the 36 state government in implementing the different reforms of federal government, disclosing that the federal government recently concluded arrangements with the World Bank to further make available another sum of $750 million as additional financing for states under the state's Fiscal Transparency, Accountability and Sustainability Program. And the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, Central Bank of Nigeria, and the Economic Financial Crimes Commission are set to commence investigations into the illegal practices of digital money lenders in the country. Chief Executive Officer of FCCPC, Babatunde Erukera, on behalf of the Joint Regulatory and Enforcement Committee of the agencies involved in the investigations, in a statement said the collaboration is to checkmate activities of violators and commence criminal prosecutions where applicable. A new report has shown that global wealth tripled in the last 2 decades, from $156 trillion in 2000 to $514 trillion in 2020, with China outpacing the United States of America for the #1 spot. The report, conducted by the research arm of globally renowned management consulting firm McKinsey & Co., explained the national balance sheets of 10 countries representing over 60% of world income. They include Australia, Canada, China, France, Germany, Japan, Mexico, Sweden, United Kingdom, and the United States. The study, which revealed that the world is now wealthier than ever, stated that net worth worldwide rose to $514 trillion in 2020 from $156 trillion in 2000. China, the report said, accounted for almost 1/3 of the increase. The federal government is determined to complete the ongoing installation of mini and medium rice processing mills in 10 states of the country. Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development Mohammed Mahmoud Abubakar says the government is also looking at the possibility of ensuring availability of rice at affordable price for Nigerians before the festive period. Musa Baba Aliu has the details.
In 2018, the Federal Executive Council approved for the Federal Ministry of Agriculture to establish 10 integrated rice milling factories in 10 states at the cost of 10.7 billion naira. Already work has begun, and 4 out of the 10 are near completion. The 4 are located in Niger, Adamawa, Ogun, and the FCT. The minister, while inspecting the construction in Kwali, was assured that with little push, the factory and that of Suleja will be ready before next month.
They need additional funding to complete, especially these 2, and we'll look at the possibility of making sure we get the funding rather quickly so that we have at least the 2 completed by January, let's say, end of January or so.
In the meantime, the minister has given directive to the Nigeria Agricultural Seed Council to go after producers and distributors of fake seeds. The minister also visited the council in Gwagwalada, where he promised to assist the organization with basic operational equipment.
So this is a place where it's absolutely important to the agriculture sector, and it is my responsibility to do everything humanly possible to support them, to make sure that not only good seeds are being produced, but imported and exported.
Going by records, Nigeria is rated as the largest producer of seeds in Africa, providing about 60% of the input for the West African nations.
And on our discussion segment is a conversation on Nigeria's export potential and the second Intra-African Trade Fair in Dublin, South Africa, earlier recorded by Musa Abubakar, with Ufong Udofia, Executive Secretary, Institute of Export Operations and Management.
You're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you. Good to meet you.
Okay, the second Inter-African Trade Fair has opened with focus on building bridges for a successful continental market. How can this be achieved?
Yeah, fantastic. I first of all want to thank say kudos to the Afrexim Bank for conceiving this idea. However, the Inter-African Trade Fair is just one platform. If the goals of the is to develop a successful and open African market, the benefit is also for Africans. The work of building bridges needs to be happening concurrently at all levels. And we will not just leave it for the Intra-African Trade Fair or for the Afrexim Bank. The regional and the sub-regional level, continental and subcontinental level, effort needs to be simplified when it has to do with trade. All at the national level, there need to be effort to simplify the process of intra-African trade. and both for importers and exporters, and all sectors need to be involved. Our customs need to look at their tariff. Immigration needs to be involved for ease of movement. Trade-focused agencies like the Nigerian Export Promotion Council that are doing so much, and they need to do more. Like the Standard Organization, the Nigerian Quarantine, simplifying regulation. We need to simplify our regulation, because if the regulation is too steep that is not simplified to the understanding of a common trader in Nigeria, then it means we are going to have much problem. Over-regulation will only push business into informal trade, and this does not benefit all Africans.
Okay.
So every exporter needs to understand that.
Okay, what would you like to see from the trade fair?
Yeah, what I would like to see is more trade. And as it were, from my export perspective, the export committee must actively engage. They must get involved. Like Nigeria has gone with some contingent, both from the Ministry of Trade and Investment, the Nigerian Export Promotion Council have also gone. What are we going to do? Trade, international trade, export is like war. It's like fighting a war. It's an international trade war in the sense that what do you bring back home? How many businesses are we able to bring back home? So what I want to see is that by the time they are back, there should be an increase of the number of trade deals that will be going from Nigeria, most importantly the export aspect of it, because we need to balance our trade. We've been dwelling in the import for so long a time. So I believe that we will be able to trade among ourselves, because the entire African countries, our percentage of trading with each other is about 15%. So I want to see that by the time this trade phase is done, in the next 1 year, we should at least jump by to another 15% to make it 35 or 45%.
3.3 worth of trade deals was signed last year. What should we expect this year?
Yes, because of the numerous work that the Afrizim Bank and the other countries' local banks, like the Nigerian Import-Export Bank, like NSP have done, so the awareness have been created. So I look forward that we should double that if we don't triple that, because this is an opportunity to work among ourselves, we understand ourselves, to trade among ourselves, and then to increase our GDP in different countries.
Okay, Nigeria has the largest market share in the continent. What's our volume of trade like in Africa? And what is that component needed to boost the volume of trade in the continent?
Yes, 20% of our total export from Nigeria was to other African countries, while 7% of our import was from other African countries. You can now see that even though we are the large market, we are the giant in terms of trade and population. We need to improve more. We need to do more in terms of infrastructure, enabling our products to go into this other country certification, and actually doing much on capacity building, because our institutions, like the education institution, should key into this program. Our entrepreneurs should key into it, not only selling locally, we should do more in order to increase our check back. But when you talk about share, what percentage of the trade in Africa is actually coming to Nigeria in terms of export? I dwell much on export because that is how to build a nation. If you import more, you are putting pressure on your currency. But when you export more, you balance your trade deficit. I think if we move much to see that we increase that, it will really help us.
Okay, you made mention of exports. How can the present state of export support the recovery process in Nigeria?
Yes, that cannot be overemphasized, because like the one time Indian leader said, India should either export now or perish. That cannot be overemphasized. What we need to do is we need to at least advise the banks to give lending to export, give export as a priority. Look at the trade support institutions like the Chamber of Commerce, like our institute, like NEPC, who is actually the godfather of export in this country, because with their slogan that export business is tomorrow's business, we need to give more attention to them and then to give them support. We should not leave it to NEPC alone, because if we fail to export, the debt toll will not only take people from the family of NEPC workers, rather it will go to the entire country. So everybody, the trade and investment support institutions, like I've said, the Trade Chamber of Commerce, city chambers, other trade organizations should key into it and support this mainly on the area of capacity building, on women inclusion, And how do we turn our informal trade to formal trade so it will be recorded for us?
There's been disruptions in value chain globally. What is Nigeria doing to bridge these gaps in terms of local manufacturing?
Yes, one of our major problems is energy. When the cost of production is high, definitely your product cannot compete favorably. If you remember, our beloved sister Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala during the last briefing made mention of our challenges in terms of cost of doing businesses. Our cost of doing business are expensive. So the level of infrastructure, we should look at a system of mostly like the Lagos port, we're having congestion. What do we need to do? The electronic call-up system should be fast-tracked. Then we also look at how do we use other ports in the sub-region, in the entire country. We have a port in Port Harcourt, 2 ports in that matter. We have one in Calabar. We have the Baru port, which the sea-link is actually trying to make it work. Because by the time you move share note from Niger State to Port Harcourt by road, the cost is actually increasing. So I also want to thank the federal government with this project of rail lines. If we're able to get a rail line from Ikom in Cross River State down to Mina, up to covering the entire country, it will actually reduce the cost of trade. That infrastructure is very important. And then coming to the port, we also get an infrastructure that can enable us to do 24 hours both export and import clearance. That will fast track our trade, because you know that international trade is like a code. If you cannot do the code, if you cannot do the time, you don't do the code. So you must be time conscious, and this has to do with our logistics and infrastructure. Our roads also, we need to spend more and put that in place and make it affordable. Yes, even if you are going to pay for it, you pay for it and get the value. Then expecting government to do it free, or you wait until you're able to do it yourself. Most of the Nigerian entrepreneurs cost a lot of things on their own. We need support from the government in terms of infrastructure to help our value chain.
Okay, is this all this thing about government? What about the private sector? What role do they have to play in this?
Yes, the private sector have a lot of role to play. I have mentioned earlier that the Chamber of Commerce, when you write a letter to any international buyer, he will respect you more if a member of Chamber of Commerce, if a member of a trade support institution, like we have the Institute of Export Operations and Management. So which group it's attitude, we give them some comfort that, oh, I can trace this person to a particular organization in Nigeria. So they are also working on capacity building like we do. We do a lot of capacity building programs. The Nigerian Export Promotion Council is really doing much. And I want to thank the Executive Secretary, Shegun Awolo, for giving us that visibility. On few occasions, we went outside with him. We were in Budapest together. We were in Qatar together. He tries to position us. So they are also working. Manufacturing Association of Nigeria, the Man Export Group, they are also, Mr. Dafinoni is doing much there. Then it now comes to the NASIMA, which is the umbrella body of the Nigerian Chamber of Commerce. They are also doing much for people to key into that. And then because international trade is knowledge-based, what you do locally, you need to upscale it when you want to go international. So we need to do, they are doing much, and I still want them to do more with the support of other relevant agencies.
Now, how much technology do you think is needed to connect buyers and sellers in the continent?
Yes, technology is very important. I also want to give kudos to Afrexim Bank, who has come up with the Pan-African payment process system. You know, currency conversion is a problem. So with that platform, when it is up and doing, which means Naira will be convertible with the CDs in Ghana, be convertible with the French franc and the rest of them, because that has been our major problem. So in terms of technology, they have come up with that. Then Nigerian Import-Export Bank has also come out in partnership with the Institute with an online training platform for Nigerians who wants to go into export. The fintech platform are also doing their own bits to connect. However, we need technology platform that focus on market access, international trade marketplace, and bring buyers and sellers across the continent. There are other areas, but time may not allow me to address them one by one. We need to really key into that, because even our youngsters who are using computer for evil, who are using the internet, if they start looking for buyers and sellers and matchmaking them, it will even reduce cyber crime, because they will not be looking at crime, rather they'll be looking of a measure of joining buyers and sellers together. For example, if if I am on the internet and I'm to join buyers and sellers, and the seller is giving me 2.5% finder's fee, and the buyer is giving me 2% or 2.5% finder's fee, a young man from the university, while in the university, will be able to make 5% on a transaction. And you see, like I often said, export is a process. There's a value chain. We have the farmers, the processors, we have this link, brokers, which is what I'm talking about. You broker between the buyer and the seller. We have the merchants, and then we also have the main exporters. So you could say that with what they are saying with technology, the volume of job that the export value chain can create, no oil industry, no other sector can create that kind of a job.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Ofon Odofia, Executive Secretary, Institute of Export Operations and Management.
Well, from there, let's take a look at prices of commodities. And still talking commodities, oil prices dropped on Wednesday after U.S. gasoline stocks fell more than expected last week, which could heighten pressure on the Biden administration to release oil from emergency reserves to cap soaring gasoline prices. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures fell 76 cents to $80 a barrel, extending a 12-cent loss from Tuesday. Brent crude futures fell 72 cents to $82.71, erasing a 38-cent gain from Tuesday. And still looking at OPEC, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC is seeing a global energy demand expanding by 28% to be driven by global economic growth and population expansion. OPEC Secretary General Mohammed Sanusi Barkindo therefore sees the need to expand access to modern energy services for those billions who continue to go without. Barkindo is also of the view that oil will retain its #1 position in global energy mix and provide about a quarter of the world's energy needs by 2045. Renewable energy, he notes, is projected to experience the largest growth, rising from around 2% to over 10% by 2045. And on the equities market, the market closed negative at the end of Wednesday trading session. The all share index declined 0.24% at 43,349.9 points, and the market capitalization dropped to 22.6 trillion naira. 264.7 million shares valued at 6,084 billion naira exchanged hands in 4,230 deals. FBN Holdings, International Breweries PLC, and the Guarantee Trust Holding Company PLC are the most active stocks. Let's take a look at the global market.
Hello and welcome to the Global Market Review. European markets were muted on Wednesday as investors awaited inflation readings from the Eurozone and the UK. Shares in Asia declined overnight as Japan's export growth slowed to an 8-month low, sending shares of automakers lower. The Shanghai Composite was up 0.44% to close 3,537.37. Japan's Nikkei dipped 0.40% across 29,688.33, and Hong Kong Hang Seng Index also dipped 0.25% at 25,650.08. US stock futures were little changed in early trading on Wednesday ahead of earnings reports from big box retailers Targeted and Lowers. Futures on the Dow Jones Industrial Average slipped by 14 points. S&P 500 futures and Nasdaq 100 futures were little changed. In Africa, Nairobi Securities Exchange Capital Market Regulator has capped the price of shares listed firms. However, markets on the continent were generally slow. Tunisia's Tunidex was negative, while other stocks posted gains. That's the Global Market Report. I am Bossede Abel.
On that global note, we say join us again tomorrow at 9:30 for another edition.